What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? My name is Beckett.
My name is Alex.
And my name is Kage, and I'd like to welcome you to the first Back on Track podcast.
Before we get started, a message from our sponsor. All right, that's all. Now let's get started.
So, I don't know about you guys, but I really feel that the goal in this podcast, and I know we talked about this before, the goal was really to form a healthy conversation, something we don't get a lot seeing on social media, just the constant bickering, not really a formal debate platform. We just want to give healthy conversation and maybe educate our audience a little bit. Alex, what do you think?
Well, I was really thinking, it's a really toxic climate right now in the form of like conservative speech. And that's why we're really talking about the war on free speech for this episode. And this is something that's like really important because America's built on free speech. And that's why we're so far ahead of all these other nations that have risen up over the past few hundred years. It's because of the freedoms that we're guaranteed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as Americans, I feel like we have so many more freedoms than other countries do. Like, for example, you mentioned free speech, and then we also have the Second Amendment, the freedom to bear arms, which a lot of other countries don't have the ability to have. I think it's very important to just acknowledge that we have these specific freedoms and don't take them for granted all the time that I see that we do.
Yeah, I love that. I also think that this is a very important subject to start on because this is probably the most threatened one nowadays.
Well, I was actually just going to add to that. Our free speech is letting us do this podcast right now. So it's really crucial to be able to say anything. You have to have free speech. When your free speech is taken away, you can't do anything. And this is just going to be like a total botch job. But Ronald Reagan said, once you lose your freedom, there's nowhere else to go. This is America. That's it. What we have here, you can't get anywhere else. And so I think with that, we are going to get started on our current events for the week, and then we'll get into each one on a more detailed topic, one by one.
Now moving on to the current events of the week. The elephant in the room. Donald Trump is banned on all social media platforms.
Like almost all social media platforms.
That's crazy. That's unthinkable. He's the most influential person in our country.
He is the president of the United States.
If it can happen to him, it can happen to any one of us.
And it is.
It is
Yes,
happening.
it is.
And that's the scary part because it's just immediately a battle of, I don't agree with you, so shut up and go back to your home and hide and don't talk.
And only one party is getting punished for that.
And guess what? It's the conservatives. Sorry.
And I think that could bring us to really what parts of our free speech aren't protected. And that was something we kind of wanted to talk about. So free speech, defined by Google Dictionary, means that the government may not jail, fine, or impose civil liability on people or organizations based on what they say or write. And that's really a right that was fought for. That's a right that's in our Constitution. It's in the First Amendment. The first change to the U.S. Constitution was that we are to have freedom of speech, and that was going to be protected by law forever.
The one thing I've really been thinking is, and Candace Owens said it great, this is not a Candace Owens quote, I'll get to that. America needs to suck it up. You cannot just act like a victim every time someone hurts your feelings.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, in her book, Blackout, by the way, 10 out of 10, amazing book. I would highly recommend reading it. She says, leftism is defined as any political philosophy that seeks to infringe upon individual liberties in its demand for a higher moral good. In this case, higher moral good means, anything that the Democrats agree with. And the problem with censoring free speech of people you don't agree with is when you censor them, it opens the door to you being censored for what you think. And I think there's a lot of, people on the left who don't realize that by saying, let's censor everyone that's saying all this stuff that I don't agree with, it's kind of a way of just, opening the door, as I already said, to things that they really don't want in the future. And I think that's really scary.
They're completely taking away free speech. I mean, nobody has right to take away free speech. Free speech is a God-given right.
Yeah, there's no amendment saying, hey, you can take away other people's free speech.
Not on the 27 I've read, at least.
Yeah.
We can look. They might add a new one soon.
I mean, Twitter, Facebook, all these big companies, they're trying to play God by taking away people's rights, and that's not okay.
Right. And our founding fathers knew that. That's why they put it into law. It shouldn't need to be put into law. Like, that should just be something that's taken for, it should be able to be taken for granted, but it's not, because they're threatening to take it away every single day.
Yeah, very true. Hundreds of thousands of conservatives are getting canceled. Like this past week, hundreds of thousands of conservatives have been canceled and banned from Twitter.
And honestly, like, the suppression of speech is not going to stop.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. It's just begun. You just see like the rapid amount of accounts just getting banned from Twitter and Instagram alone is insane. Not to mention Facebook not even showing live streams or any other source of conservative content on their site.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's always going to be someone with a conflicting idea. And as long as there's a conflicting idea, there's going to be someone who wants someone else banned for just saying what they think. And that's so dangerous because of what we are guaranteed and what's being taken away right now.
People are going to keep doing this because they'll always believe that they're better than other people. People just have this twisted mindset that because the people gave them the legal power to change things, that they are better than other people. They got these rights by the people for the people. It is our right by the United States Constitution that if any form of government becomes corrupt of those ends, then we have the right to alter or abolish it. So we have it's really the powers in the people. Like, power to the people is that one organization's saying, but that's a true statement. We have the power. We are the people.
I think a lot of people forget that these, numbskulls in Congress, they work for us. We're the boss, right? And as soon as we forget that, they start, encroaching on all of our civil liberties, taking them away one by one. We need to kind of step up and say, listen, you work for us. We want this. So stop. Right?
There was something in Charles W. Colson's book, Born Again, where he talks about how people in government are always just trying to please their boss. And I think in Ben Shapiro's Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings, it talks about that too. It's just based on your boss. You only get higher in politics if you please your boss. That's all you're trying to do. What people forget is we are the president's boss, the people, not one person. There's no one boss. We as a country, this union was formed based on our beliefs, not one person. One person didn't decide everything. That would be a dictatorship. That's not what our country has. We are an independent country based on our freedoms. So the part of free speech that I would say isn't protected is only what we refuse to fight for.
And for the record, dictators don't get banned and elected out of office. So all the people that are saying, oh, Trump is an evil dictator, well, if he was, he wouldn't be banned on Twitter. Everyone else would be banned, and he'd be the only voice.
Right, and I don't think they would even be allowed to be saying what they're saying right now. Like, it would just be off with their heads.
Yeah, very true. Also, getting back to, the canceling, canceling 100,000 conservative voices from social media platforms really gives, no voice to the 74 million Americans that voted that way. I think it's insane that the people that are ahead and that people look up to in the conservative party, they're looking up to these people that are posting all these things, that are trying to voice their opinions basically on Twitter, and they can't see that anymore. They're just constantly fed with information that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
And I think that long term that's really going to hurt Twitter. And
It'll hurt everything.
Yeah, it's going to hurt everything, including our country.
Yeah, I think a main thing that I've seen is just over the past year, besides the pandemic, there's been multiple protests and a big movement in our country. I won't give my standpoint on that, but there has been a significant shift in how country is viewed, how speech is viewed. And I think in that, one of the main things that has come out of that has been giving a voice to the people and the people that aren't heard. But what they're doing right now is it's almost like a trade. It's like, oh, we're going to take the voices that we think should have the spotlight. We're going to put them in front, even if that's not how the free speech should be. They're muting people based on their beliefs and giving people that they want power to speak.
Yeah, and for anyone wondering, are there examples of free speech being taken away or hypocrisy on the left because of the same thing being said on both sides? And you look at protests which were happening back in May, June, July, all summer.
Yeah, all leading up to the election.
Right, and there was complete Democrat silence on the protests because they actually were not they said mostly peaceful, but they were really riots. Right?
On a certain news channel, there was a picture of a reporter saying, "Oh, these quiet protests." I don't remember the reporter's name, but there was a fire behind him.
There was
a
literal
building
fire.
on fire, and he was talking about the peaceful protests going on.
And that wasn't just that one time. That been all across the country
for the entire summer. And then fast forward to a couple weeks ago, you look at what happened at the Capitol. Yeah. Well, okay, suddenly riots are bad from the left standpoint. I mean, you can't just flip-flop whenever it's convenient. Well, they are, because the free speech is being taken away from anyone who says, "Wait a minute, that's not what you thought 6 months ago. That's not what you thought 8 months ago."
Yeah. People are taking a subjective standpoint on our free speech rather than an objective standpoint.
Yeah, but there is a difference between peaceful protests and riots, obviously, because peaceful protests, they definitely help. Like the one that we had, like, around our area was really good. I felt like it was really good. It was supported by the police, too. Like, they were there. They gave a speech beforehand, and they, like, led the march.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's guaranteed. The First Amendment is not just free speech.
And that's your right.
It is free religion. It is free press. It is free protest. While, protests are good, riots are bad. And if you don't objectively say riots are bad, then you're being a hypocrite.
Right.
True.
Also, for any of our audience listening, we are willing to take questions. If any of you have questions, we are not opposed. If you disagree, you are more than welcome to send in. We'd be super hypocritical if we told you, "Okay, guys, no, we stand for freedom of speech no matter what," but we're not going to listen to any of your questions because only our beliefs matter. No, we're willing to hear your side. Absolutely. If we haven't really given much of our standpoint. We've given a little bit on insight, which obviously you'll get to know our standpoints better as we continue this podcast. But
yeah, I mean, we're not the higher authority on political commentary.
Yeah, and we're not going to silence you because of your beliefs. We're willing to let your questions be heard.
And moving into our last topic, I just want to say that, like, limiting free speech is just leading us closer to communism.
Those dumb commies limiting our speech.
Yeah, because if you can't stand up or, like, speak about what you believe in, then others won't be able to hear the truth.
Right. I mean, you look at China.
And
you say something against.
Yeah,
you say
they don't
something
know
against
half the world events that are going on right now.
You say something against the government, and guess what? We're chopping your hands off.
Oh, look, we're North Korea.
Yeah. I mean,
who even knows what's going on there?
I don't know what's going on in North Korea. All I know is the interview. Like.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. We appreciate you listening all the way through to this point. Make sure you just share this with your friends. Anyone who you really want to emphasize that free speech is important, and our future episodes.
Yeah, and if you disagree with us on anything, just let us know. We are very open to hearing other people's opinions and other takes on certain worldly events happening right now, and we'd love to hear your questions.
Anyways, thank you so much
guys.
for listening.
Appreciate it.
Make sure to share with your friends.
Back on track, signing off.